let's go ahead and get started with the first one, which is going to be a very familiar one for those of you that have worked in percents. And that is, what is 15% of 75? Now, we all know the trick of if it was like, what is 10% of 50? And then you can just say, well, that's the same thing as 50% of, 10, right? And that's a great trick that works when you have something that is easy numbers like that. But what about when you're dealing with 15% of 75? You need to understand the definition of percentage. The definition of percentage means part of 100. So whenever I see something that is percent, I'm immediately going to take that number and put it over 100. And that is going to be the theme for whenever I'm working with percentage. So it says, what is 15%? So immediately 15%. So I'm going to say that is 15 over 100 of 75. So what that means is I'm looking for a number that instead of being out of 100 is going to be out of 75, that it would be equivalent to 15, meaning I need to include a equal sign. So now I'm going to have an X, which is going to be my variable, which is going to be my unknown, and that's going to be over a 75. Now I have what we call a proportion. And when we're dealing with percentage problems, this is what we always want to look to create a proportion. Because then once we create a proportion, we can apply the cross product to go ahead and solve for X. But before we go and get into multiplying, or, you could just multiply 75 on the other side or applying the cross product, we always want to make sure, can we simplify things? Can we break this down? You see, I have a 15 over 100. Can I reduce that? I don't want to be dealing with really, really big numbers. So I notice that 5 goes into 15 3 times, and 5 is going to go into 100 20 times. So now I have 3 over 20 is equal to an X over a 75. Now I can apply the cross product, so I can multiply a 75 times 3. 75 times 2 is 150, plus another 75 is going to be a 225, and that's going to equal to a 20x. Now just divide by 20 on both sides, and I need to figure out what that is. Now I do have a calculator with me, but I want to go back through this because a lot of students, after they kind of get out of the elementary grades, totally forget long division. And unfortunately, it keeps on coming up and up again. And even though, yes, you're not going to go to the grocery store and need to do long division, you should know at least the basic process and remember how to go through it. So let's do a quick little review, if it is a review for you. And let's actually get the decimal. Let's get a couple decimal values for exactly what this percent is going to be. Because right now, I just have 20 divided by 225. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our divisor here, and we're going to say, does it divide into 2? No. So then we go to the next 2 digits. Does it divide into 22? Yes, it does, 1 time. Then I'm going to take that first term in my quotient, multiply it by my divisor, and I'm going to get a 20. Now I'm going to subtract just these 2 rows here, or just subtract the 2 rows. And you're going to see here now I'm going to get a 2, and you can go ahead and bring down this 5 as well. Does 20 evenly divide into 20? Yes, or I'm sorry, does 20 divide into 25? Yes, it does. That's going to be 1 time. And then 1 times 20 is going to be, again, another 20. And then now you can go ahead and subtract again, and we have a 5. Unfortunately, though, you can see 20 does not evenly divide into 5. So now that is going to create our decimal point. Once we've created our decimal point, though, we can start adding zeros. So I can bring down a 0 over here. And now I can say, does 20 divide into 50? 20 divides into 50, let's say 2 times. 2 times 20 is going to be a 40. Subtract your rows. Again, you're going to get a 10. But again, once we've already created our decimals, we just have unlimited zeros here. So I can bring another 0 here. 20 divides into 100. You can say, hey, that's going to go in 5 times. And then 5 times 20 is 100. And look at, ladies and gentlemen, we get a 0 as our remainder. So 11.25 is going to be our final answer. So we can say X is equal to